There's a category of stuff that when people do it on the drums, it's easier to tell they're serious. I'm not necessarily talking about the fastest single strokes or the Tony Williams ride cymbal pattern. No, you can do practically anything else you want to, but as long as you do these things, you can rest assured it's very hard to fake. Allow me to demonstrate one. Here I am taking a meandering solo. To a non-expert, it's hard to tell if I have any idea what I'm doing. It's the equivalent of modern art that looks like your kid could have painted it. Now I'm adding in one thing. See how the snare drum is happening at what seems like regular moments? But it's not just backbeats. In fact, it's beat 7 of bar 1 and beat 6 of bar 2. Or beat 5, I don't really remember. Or take this jazz style solo. First, I'll play it without any reference. Just kind of sounds meandering and random, right? Now I'll play it with some hi-hat. Sounds a little more ordered, right? But hard to place? Well, in this case, I'm playing in 5, but I'm playing the hats on 2 and 5. Let's look at some examples in nature. Here's Brian Blade playing one of my favorite solos. But what's he doing along with improvising? Catching figures. For a more dramatic example, here's Devin Taylor at VF Jams. Watch out for 2 bars you're like, does he know where he is? Then nails a figure with the band. And in today's video, we're gonna go through and demonstrate 3 ways to show you're not totally full of shit when you take But hang on, you're saying this entire lesson is just about impressing people? Obvious question. Why do we care about them? If you know you're nailing the one, who cares what anybody else thinks? Let them kick rocks. Well, maybe. But let's remember drums are built on a long tradition of showmanship, which we'll get into. So remember that paradox. It's subjective, but it's not. We're artists, but we're entertainers. But also, this will make your playing better too. There's a way in which, by forcing ourselves to grow around guardrails, we stimulate creativity. Like grapes growing in a harsh climate. And please God, can there just be a clean time lapse showing exactly the thing I'm trying to illustrate, instead of some hard to interpret B-roll? So in that spirit, I present you today's lesson, along with the free transcriptions you can download below, and you're definitely going to want to when you see this material. Stay tuned. And folks, today's lesson is brought to you by my friends over at JP Bouvet Method. If you like my teaching and want a way bigger library of courses that are all 80/20 approved, click the link below to grab your free 7-day trial to JP Bouvet Method. One course I've been checking out is the Paradiddle Flow course. I realized upon getting in there that it's the same principles as my clave flow, except he's using it as a gateway to improvisation, and he's got hours of beautiful high-res video and audio and super clear explanations. And that's just one of the many courses you'll find. Use the promo codes below the video player to save when you grab your free trial within 1 calendar week of the publishing of this video. Now, back to the lesson. Drum badassery signal 1, foot ostinatos. Since way back, drummers were using foot ostinatos, which is to say a pattern with the feet that repeats as a basis for improvising. A popular one in early drumming was just 4 on the floor with the bass drum. But during the jazz era, people like Max Roach made popular more complex, odd meter ones like this in 5. And foot ostinatos can get complex too, like claves. But let's focus on 2 for fun. The first will be in 4. Rather than just the standard every quarter or 2 and 4, let's choose something that's going to be a little more challenging, like 1, 2, and 4. If you already have stuff you can improvise over that, that's fine. But here's a little step-by-step. I start with just paradiddles around the drums. Then every few, I'll do a right, left, left kick. That's going to keep us pretty downbeat oriented, but it'll give you the chance to get your sea legs. Next, I'll add in a right, left, left kick, which gives us a nice 6-beat phrase. And let's just explore ideas with these while keeping the ostinato. We can also trade with a little groove with the right hand on the ride cymbal. Dig it? Okay, let's move on to foot ostinato 2. A little more challenging. Let me just say, within each ostinato, I'll try to go easiest to hardest, but if this is too hard for you right now, stick around because there will be other easier ostinatos. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's go classic odd meter, classic Max Roach, Joe Morello. We're gonna play in 5, and I'll play the hats on 2 and 5 like this. And because we don't want to make it too challenging at first, let's pick 3 idioms that will let us land on the downbeat every time. We're going to play right, left kick, right, left kick, and right, left kick. I'll show you how we can use these just to get comfortable with the 5/4 and the coordination of playing the hats on 3 and 5. During the last 2 beats of the bar, I choose between the right, left kick and the right, left kick to give us a little variety. Now for more advanced stuff. Stuff that cycles over the bar line. You can do that just by playing the right, left kicks more than in that one place. For instance, if we just loop right, left kick, they cross the bar line. We can also put in regular paradiddles. And finally, our right, left kicks. I should say, if you like this type of idiom and want to get way deeper in a self-directed context, you should check out today's sponsor, JP Bouvet Method. You'll find tons of this type of idea in his paradiddle flow courses. If we want to do this in a little more jazz context, we can switch things up a little. Personally, I'd switch to 5/8 and work on playing the 16th swung depending on the tempo. So that's ostinato 1, hat ostinatos. Before we talk about ostinato 2, let's put a back to drums counter on the screen while we talk about costly signals. Time was, only the wealthy could afford suits and gold-plated stuff. So if you showed up downtown looking like Great Gatsby, people knew you had something going on. Then we got stuff like Men's Warehouse and fake gold drip, so the wealthy moved on to hoodies and Ibiza selfies. Then we got stuff like Uniqlo and Ryanair, so if you want to flex, you're gonna need a yacht. But now you can rent a yacht for a day, so your kid needs to get into Dalton. And so goes the partly conscious arms race for status. Unless you judge, while it's true that some people are more conscious of this game and have fun subverting it, for instance, this is my whip, it's also true that not only can no one fully escape, we probably shouldn't want to. In ancient times, you see, you needed to be able to distinguish between someone who really knew where the herd was and somebody just fronted. because people put a lot of respect on your name if they thought you were a hunter, so there was a huge incentive to front. Enter costly signals. Anybody could put on war paint and carry a bow, but if you had a legit animal skin, that was harder to fake, until people could barter for them and then you needed an antler hat, and so on. Costly signals were hard to fake drip that indicated you were legit. Harvard shirts, cauliflower ear, and scene. So what does this have to do with drums? Before we get there, let's talk about our next ostinato. Ostinato 2, hand ostinatos. Jairus Yokley posted this the other day. He's catching 2 and 4 on the stack, and even that's a hand ostinato. When you think about it, what's a trap beat besides improvising around 2 and 4 on the snare? You'll see a lot of live arrangements that feature this kind of playing. And some of my favorite Instagrammers are doing this thing I call clave flow around 2 and 4. But that's just one type. What if instead of 2 and 4, you hit beat 3 in the first bar and the and of 2 in the second? Or what if you were playing in 7 and hit beat 7 on the crash in bar 1 and beat 6 in bar 2, or possibly beat 5, I don't really remember. Well, let's break down a basic style of this. I'm going to give you 3 idioms to play anywhere you want on the drums, but we're going to start between the snare and hats. You can do this 4-beat idiom, this 3-beat one, or this 2-beat. What if I asked you to make interesting melodies using just these tools? You could play repeating figures like these, or you could just flow like this. Next, what if I asked you to play the snare rim shot on beat 3 and only beat 3 without deviating much or at all from the idioms, depending on how feasible this is once I bring it to the kit. Now, what if I told you you could orchestrate that lead hand to other surfaces? This, plus a few other idioms, plus a lot of practice, becomes clave flow. Now, let's learn a slightly more difficult one. Snare on 3 in bar 1, and on the and of 2 in bar 2. Same patterns. We won't get super specific in this video, but imagine extending on it in 3 ways. First, by changing subdivisions. And of course, that will require a greater variety of licks. Next, by continuing to innovate different claves to play around, and different meters. And finally, by changing the rules of what counts as hitting the clave. It could be the snare, but it could also be the stack, or cymbal, or kick-in cymbal. And the further we get along, the more this resembles ostinato 3. And we'll get there, but first, costly signals part 2. Why do we want costly signals on the drums? Here's where I tell you there are very good reasons to learn to play like this, beyond just signaling to an audience that you're not full of shit. The first is being able to hit figures with a band. like we're going to discuss in a few minutes. Being able to be creative and still land in predictable places makes it a lot easier for the band to follow you. For instance, in this Stevie Wonder song with Chris Coleman and Weckl trading solos. Or this amazing Weckl solo with Oz North. The second is being able to signal to other musicians where the beat is in a live situation. If we're soloing with tracks or something, fine. But with live musicians, if you're taking a few bars in time, you may want to show them where the beat is while you're doing something across the bar line, for instance. It's generally better when the band comes in together after a solo instead of train wrecking. So you could just keep 1, 2, and 4 on the hats, or even just half notes. Finally, there's a hidden benefit: creative range of motion. Just like the grape that has to grow in harsh conditions. Or Bane, who was formed in the dark and apparently had to climb up that crazy wall, until we learned, spoiler alert,
but he's not the child of Ra's al Ghul.
Who was actually Marianne Cotillard, or whatever.
I am.
Putting your improvisation under the hormetic, which is to say good stress, pressure of having to adapt to obstacle courses, increases your, well, creativity, time, confidence, etc. Oh, I just realized I have a whole other piece about why we should care at least mildly about impressing the audience. But we'll have to get to that after ostinato 3. Ostinato 3. Figures. This almost doesn't register, right? Because we're so used to them. Whether it's church arrangements,
can I get a hallelujah? Someone saying amen.
Or big band. But figures, especially to do them well, are another varietal of this. First of all, an ostinato is any figure that repeats. Basically, a fancy Italian word for loop. And I don't know how or why yet, but I know someone's gonna have an issue with that in my comments. But let's look at one of the most famous modern versions of this. Jazz crimes. And can we just pause and say, in the grand pantheon of crimes against jazz, one of the most funky and soulful toe tappers in the last 20 years is way down the list. Anyway, Jazz Crimes has this funky little ostinato. Which during the drum solo becomes this. And which gave rise to this Brian Blade solo. And I've thought a lot about this solo, because I think there are levels to this game. 2 weeks ago, I published a video about being controlled while being fully in it, and I used the analogy of John Daly hitting a drive long and straight. You can kind of fail on both ends of the spectrum, by being careful and clinical and not going for it, and also by fudging all over the figures, or both. And the Jazz Crime solo has a way of amplifying this. If a drummer isn't hitting it hard and straight, this solo section brings it out. But let's use this briefly as a substrate, which just means something that you build something else on top of, and I'm not sure why I didn't just say that, but let's go with it. We'll use it as a substrate to practice some of our ostinato concepts. To start with, let's choose something that we're going to do for each of the figures. I like using the snare rim shots for every figure except the last. If we just play the 8-bar pattern, which is really 4 bars with 2 different endings, it sounds like this. Okay, no idea if this will work, but let's pretend we're going from our switching idioms from the clave flow. I'm literally on the bleeding edge assembling this for you guys real time. There's a high possibility this will fail and I'll crash and but we're going to try it. So let's try to improvise over this with the rules reset. And I'm going to try to hit it hard within this rule framework. Now, keeping the same rule framework, some next steps. First, I drop the training wheels and let myself play anything I can think of. Next, I let myself switch subdivision. And here's the thing, when you hit one on the screws, as they say in golf, you feel it. You'll have a visceral sensation of not being full of shit. Okay, bro. You've gone way red pill with the status signaling thing on the drums. What's next, an apartment in Dubai and a vlog about how all the haters are brokies or no choppies? So here's the paradox, which I'm sorry is going to keep coming back because it's not part of the equation, it's actually the fucking bullseye. Which is that art is subjective, but it's also possible to be full of shit or not full of shit. And if that bothers you, stay mad. No, that was mean. Big disclaimer that there are a million ways to be artistically authentic, and many don't include shops or showing off. And if you're still on the steep part of the learning curve, don't worry about any of this. Just have fun getting comfortable improvising. Well, let's come back to that idea of costly signals to the audience. Because there's another way to look at this, besides look at my whip, look at my drip. How about bringing the audience along with you? Like, say you're doing something in 7, and to a lot of listeners, that's like, well, I'm tuning out. This is all now white noise. But if you give them something to tap their foot to, they're now participating. Also, we like showmanship. Show-personship. We like bartenders lighting stuff on fire. We like Cirque du Soleil, and there's nothing wrong with that. When I asked Jairus about flow state, he was quick to remind me that sometimes he does think about bringing the audience in.
For me in drum solos, I'm very conscious because it's not just a singular drum solo. There's an audience there. So I want them to kind of understand, I want them to enjoy the solo too.
And Benny Greb went to bat for the show people.
You're such a great artist, they said. And he said, like, I'm afraid I'm not an artist. And they were like, how so? And then he explained that he has this entertainer side. So he wants to be loved and he wants the audience to be happy.
We're entertainers, and there's nothing wrong with that. The best drummers of old were too. People forget the swag of drummers like Papa Joe or Sonny Payne. So, have we learned anything? Yes, we have. Ostinatos are based. And in some part seriousness, we love ostinatos because they help us play over figures and signal where we are to a band, and because they stretch our ability to improvise. But also because they help us bring an audience along, to allow them to participate in a bit of an inside joke. And finally, let's not run from the idea of being a little showy. And that's how you get the gig! So folks, hope you enjoyed that one. And just to let you know, if you click the link below the player and tell us where to send it, you'll get a comprehensive transcription of basically everything we did in this video. And if you feel like you're ready to take your playing to the next level with a deeper look at a lot of the concepts, I recommend you click the link below this player and grab your 7-day free trial to the JP Bouvet method using the promo codes on your screen to save for the next 7 days after the date this video was published. Dudes, it's been real. Always enjoyed these. See you again real soon in another lesson of the week. Oh, Johnny what is it? Johnny one take today, except for 2 minutes ago and I didn't do it. Fuck! All right, it's okay, I'll get it. Again! Again.